Nailed It is a great TV show that my kids love watching. It's a cooking show called Nailed It, which takes three amateur bakers, amateur if you could call that, and they are given a very challenging baking task that they're supposed to do, or two of them supposed to do in an hour or whatever it is, in a very kind of time pressured situation. And they are not really given that many tools to figure out how to do the thing, and they try to recreate these kind of masterpieces, culinary masterpieces, and often the results are quite hilarious in terms of how how far they fall or how short they are of what it is that they're trying to make, and it's often quite disastrous and funny. I guess unfortunately we like laughing at the misfortune of others, but everyone, the way that the show does it is really brilliant. And I thought that, as we were thinking about this show, and my kids love watching it, and I was thinking about what it kind of teaches us, and I think it really stands in beautifully for this idea of Teshuva, because here you have these individuals who are trying their best, but they're lacking certain pieces of the puzzle, if you will. They're trying to bake this cake, but do all these really incredible things, but they lack the know-how. And these judges judge them, and very often are quite honest with them and point out for them, where they've fallen short in sometimes quite obvious ways. And the great reveal is at the end. They go, nailed it, and they kind of show what it is that they've done, and it's quite often quite humorous, as I mentioned before. And it's this idea of, they say they've nailed it, but they clearly haven't. And this is us in many ways. We stand before the judge, not the three cooking judges, but we stand before the judge of judges, the judge of all judges, the king of all kings, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we put ourselves forward. And unfortunately, I think for most of us, if not for all of us, what Teshuva is about is kind of saying, okay, this is what I've put forward, this is what I've created this year, and it's really fallen short of the masterpiece that I have within my ability to create. I might be lacking certain tools, and that's the idea. I'm lacking certain tools that will allow me to kind of create that masterpiece. And so when I'm judged, just like when they're judged on this show, and they're judged, and they're not judged, they're not just made fun of. The judges say, okay, this is what you could have done, this is what you could have done. In certain situations, they can get help in order to improve them as bakers. And so too, when we are judged on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and when we're going through this process of tshuva, we first off need to be honest with ourselves, and sometimes we take the cake a bit out too early, and sometimes we put in salt instead of sugar, and sometimes we make some really obvious and glaring mistakes in our lives, and you can extend that metaphor however you please. But then also, when we're judging ourselves, we're also trying to look at ourselves honestly and say, okay, these are the things that I can do in order to improve, to really nail it, to really make that masterpiece. And that's my bracha for all of us as we move into Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat where we think about, deepening our connection to Hashem and understanding what Teshuva is all about. And we're coming forward before Yom Kippur. Let's look at ourselves honestly. Let's recognize what it is that we need to fix, how we've kind of misread the recipe, and let's, seek out the tools that we need in order to be able to bake what it is that we can bake. And please God, Hashem should give us all those tools to be able to really nail it, to tap into our inner masterpiece, our inner chef, our inner genius, and make sure that this upcoming year is the most beautiful and successful and incredible year for all of us, where we can really, really, really nail it. Shabbat Shalom.